Remind me, one day this week, we got to do the Rosie audio, because she has a lot to say about this.
Oh, good.
What is she mad about? The fact that fucking Leno, they wanted her to guest host on Fridays, and Leno said no, because maybe Leno didn't want to fucking have other guest hosts, and he wanted to be the only face there. What is Rosie bitter?
How do you know that we have that clip?
I didn't know you had that clip at all. But I mean, what else could she be fucking mad about?
Why wait?
Now let me tell you my little Jay Leno story, okay? So It was pre-May 95, okay? That's what I know for sure.
Absolutely.
It was pre-May 1995.
Whose cunt was she licking then?
Exactly.
Whose cunt was she licking back then? Was that old girlfriend or the new one?
She just sounds fat. Jesus.
She really does. Was that when you were still looking at the trade centers before the awful U.S. government knocked them down?
Yeah,
you fucking fat blithering idiot.
Lunatic.
It's amazing. I'm mad at her, and all she did was say pre-95. Why don't I shut up and listen? Oh, for sure.
Absolutely.
It was pre-May 1995. I was doing the touring company of Grease that was about to come into Broadway, and Brandon Tarnikoff came to see me do that. Bobby thinks that it wasn't that it was my stand-up tour.
I think it was just stand-up tour.
Okay, but it was one of those two things, that I was performing in a large venue.
Exactly.
And he came to see me with my agent.
You can only perform in a large venue.
And he came back, and at the time, Leno had started in 93, and he wasn't doing well. So I think it was about 7-8 months after Leno started. Mm-hmm. And the ratings were not good, and there was a lot of controversy because, Jay had that woman manager. Remember, what was her name?
Helen.
Help me.
Helen Kushnick.
That's right. Helen Kushnick. She was an unhappy woman and not very kind.
You're a
and she had
bundle
only
of joy
one goal
and a
in
lot
life,
of fun to people.
Jay Leno's advance.
Phony.
So happy you hate her, Ann. So fucking
she's
happy.
a phony.
She really is a fucking phony.
Pretty
brave to come out of the closet after the huge success with your daytime show.
Queen
Real
of
fucking
nice.
brave.
Remember that? How they were talking about what a nice. Isn't Rosie so nice and
Real
her
fucking
talk
brave.
show's so nice and it's pleasant. It's so refreshing to see a nice show and stuff. Shut up. What a fucking Jekyll and Hyde she is.
You're a bullshit eater, just like the rest of them.
Oh, bullshit eater.
Yes.
What else?
A lot of pizzas.
Jay Leno's advancement. So his ratings are bad. And Brandon, and he said to me, we'd like to offer you the Friday nights like Joan Rivers did for Johnny. We'd like you to do that for the Tonight Show. And this, like Conan said, was my dream. I'm thrilled. And so after they called, they're making the deal, they're doing the money, Brandon calls me to say, Jay Leno won't agree. I said, what? He said he won't agree. He said that he doesn't want to take any days off. He doesn't like vacations. All he wants to do is work. And they can't force him. And I was like shocked. Like,
Dude, stop this 1 second.
Right?
What an asshole Leno is to not want to take days off and work.
Yeah.
What a dick. And it didn't work. What a terrible plan Jay had. What a terrible plan. Maybe had he put that fucking giant fucking corn muffin in on Friday nights, the show never would have succeeded. He's been #1 for 16 years. It worked. All she's doing is saying that Leno was 100% right to proceed as he did.
Wow. With a good work ethic.
They almost threw the fucking fat broad in.
She's complaining because Jay Leno wanted to work.
Yeah, the nerve of him. What an asshole. He wants to go there every night and work? Yuck.
She does an hour podcast for SiriusXM.
Oh, Leno's terrible.
How about you work? How about you work full-time at this? How about you start there?
Force him. And I was like shocked. Like, you got to be kidding me, right? What is 1 day a week? What is he afraid? That I'm going to do good and take over the show and he's going to lose his job?
Oh, maybe he was afraid that you would do terrible and hurt the show even more as he was struggling. Whatever he was worried about, his worry sure paid off.
Yeah. Well, she's going to tell you why the show is bad.
Oh, cool.
The show that was #1 when he was taken off the air.
Cool. Mm-hmm.
So here I was offered to do Fridays like Joan Rivers, and he's the one who said no. So Bobby and I, where were we working? In Vegas?
We're in Vegas.
We were in Vegas. I was in some, Caesars, the showroom, the big room. And Bobby answered the phone, and it was Jay Leno, right? And I said I didn't want to talk to him, right? Remember, I kept saying no, it's not there. And he knew I had a show. So I kept calling, right? And finally Bobby goes, you have to take it. So I took the phone and I go, what? He's like, Rosie, I just want to say, I'm sorry about that. They didn't ask me. If they had asked me first, I wouldn't have had them say anything to you because, I like to go, I like to work. I don't like to, I'm like, you know what, Jay, you're selfish. I said, and this is what.
Do you listen to
hold on.
Fuck is wrong with this?
Here's
fat
a guy,
soul?
first of all, that didn't have to do shit. He has the decency to even call up this fucking piece of shit and tell her, look, this is what the deal is.
Was Rosie maybe she was. Was Rosie giving up 1 day a week on her show when she was doing the daytime show?
I don't think
Maybe she. Hey, Rosie, how about this? How about this, Giver? I'm a comic, And I met Rosie once, and she was actually very nice when I met her, so I shouldn't be motherfucking her.
Good
but
for you.
How about this? How about you give me a piece of the money you're making from SiriusXM and a percentage of your show? How about that, Mrs. Selfless?
That sounds nice.
I would like a piece of your show.
Yeah.
When she was hot in daytime TV, you think she would have said, agreed to someone coming in and doing 1 day a week for her?
He's selfish because he gets the Tonight Show and he doesn't want to give 20% of it to you because you were good in Greece? What are you, fucking nuts?
Take that, fatso.
But I mean, do you understand how
I love it.
Have I ever complained that a comedian wouldn't give me a piece of his fucking gig?
God, what a delusional.
How fucking the nerve of you.
We're all in with this audio because there's a few more clips here.
You know what, Jay? You're selfish.
Yeah,
I said, and this is what's wrong with your show. You're too selfish to thank Johnny Carson on the night you started. He drove that bus for 35 years. That is not your bus, Jay Leno. You're lucky enough to be the driver.
Can you pause that real quick?
Nothing to do with it.
I agree that was a mistake.
behind the driver.
I agree that was a mistake not to thank Johnny. And I think Jay, I don't think it was his selfishness. I think he listened to his manager and he shouldn't have. And I think Jay admits that he wishes he had thanked Carson that night. That was something where I think that he listened to Helen and he never should have on that one. That's what my memory of that is. And I agree. That was something he probably would have, could he go back and do that again? I guarantee you he would do that again. He would do it better.
Lucky enough to be the driver. Has nothing to do with you. No, Rosie, why do you say that? Come on, kid. I mean, come on. Why do you say that? And then, of course, I proceeded to not do his show for many, many, many years.
Wow.
And I
he became
I just
number
thought
one.
he was a selfish guy to do that. Right?
Yeah, but you did a show before.
Yeah, he's a terrible, selfish guy. He wants to work. He wants to work. He takes a show, he makes it number one, and he wants to stay there. Really selfish guy. Not like you, who fucking piggybacks 9/11 and blabbers about it to get herself some attention. Shut your face.
Nice.
Shut your face.
You want more audio, guys?
I'd love more audio of this, but I want a piece of Rosie's show. Can somebody Twitter her or whatever? I'm sure she has a great Twitter. I would like, because she's selfless, and I'm a funny guy, I would like a piece of her show. I would like to get paid for it and a percentage of it. If she does a 1 hour show, I would like 20% of that because she wanted 20% of Jay's show.
I don't even know how long her
off.
show is. No idea.
She shouldn't be selfish. She should give it to you.
She does a 4 hour show. That's 240 minutes. Maybe that's 48 minutes. I would like 20% of it, just like she wanted 1 out of 5 nights, 20%.
You know what else I can't stand about her?
What?
Visual aspect, but the fact that she's been nothing but an anti-gun advocate for years and years and years, yet her bodyguards are armed to the teeth.
That's selfish.
That protect her and her children.
She's selfish.
They're armed, and she knows they're armed. They carry firearms, but no one else is allowed to. What, if you can't afford your own security staff, then you shouldn't be able to defend yourself?
Rosie's protection is more important than yours.
She's a hypocrite.
I think it says an awful lot about what he must think of himself. He must have the lowest self-esteem.
Who's this broad?
The lowest self-esteem to say, no, I can pilot the Tonight Show without you?
Who's this broad?
Who's this broad who got it completely wrong? He had complete self-esteem.
Yeah.
That's complete self-worth.
She's really
He must have the lowest
him.
self-esteem in the world if he's that threatened.
I don't know. I just think that he only has one thing going on. He didn't go to college, right? He's like a stand-up comic. His dad like sold insurance door to door in Harlem or something. And he's a working class blue collar guy. And this is what he did. He started doing stand-up, and then he got married as he was young. He's been married a long time. They don't have children. I don't think he has a big social life. I don't think he's got a lot of friends. I think he and his wife, and he's got a lot of cars. And I think if you only do one thing like that, the concept of that one thing going away is shocking.
She's probably right about that.
To hold on so pathetically.
Yeah.
Hold on so pathetically. Where's the holding on so pathetically come in?
She's a kook. She's the nut job with the fucking mommy issues and everything. Why not bring up your past and run through your upbringing in Comac?
Shut up. What a jealous fatso. You're fucking jealous that he didn't want or need you. And you know what? Had Jay bombed at the Tonight Show and been booted, maybe Rosie would have a great point. Sorry. He became number one.
It worked.
And stayed there for 16 years.
Yeah.
So he knew having you on that show, and look at the way you turned out on The View to be a loose cannon. He was smart. He probably saw that in you and realized you weren't good enough. And I'm not saying Rosie isn't funny or she's not great at it. Again, you got to give credit. She had a tremendously successful show. And I like the fact that she talked a lot of shit about Michael Jackson. You can't say she stinks. But the reality is he wanted to do it and he didn't need or want you, and it worked.
And she brings too much of her personal agenda to whatever forum she has. In some places it works, it's good. In others, like The View and things like that, she has an inability to be open-minded, this woman. A complete inability to be open-minded at all.
You know what I think is pathetic? She thinks Jay holding on to his gig is pathetic. I think it's pathetic that you have to have a radio company build a fucking studio in your house just so you can continue being heard. Why not just go out and do stand-up?
When did she start looking?
Cheaper than the fire department knocking a wall down to bring her in every day.